Parasite was probably 2019's greatest film to be produced. It's a comedy drama about a struggling family threatened by greed and capitalism, willing to do just about anything to stay above water. And when I say just about anything, I really mean it. It tells the story of the poor Kims who deceive and con the wealthy Parks into having their entire family doing service jobs for them. In the start of the film, the Kims do random, mundane jobs in order to survive living in their less than ideal situation. But when the oldest son, an incredibly intellectual student, receives the opportunity from his friend to tutor for the Park family's daughter, he quickly realizes the opportunity to take advantage of the Parks and seizes it. He convinces their mother that their son, who the Parks believe to be troubled, would benefit from an art therapist, and luckily, Ki-woo knows the perfect person: his sister. This theme of deception continues throughout the film as the Kims manage to replace the chauffeur and well-respected housekeeper with the father and mother respectively. From that point on, madness ensues. But there's a scene that perfectly captures the process of the Kim family performing their final and most difficult deception, replacing the maid that the Parks very much respect. This scene is referred to as the Parasite peach fuzz ploy, and perfectly named it is. But before we dive into this incredible sequence, I think it's first important to explore just what a montage is. According to StudioBinder.com, a montage is defined as a series of separate images, moving or still, that are edited together to create a continuous sequence. Montages are very common in films. Most of all films you watch will include at least one. Some of the most prolific films to exist are so famous because they have such powerful montages embedded into the script that really empower the viewers. This empowerment is exactly how montages were born in the first place. In 1917, the Bolsheviks came to power in Russia. At the time, the majority of Russian citizens were poor and working class. Bolshevik actually means a majority in Russian. So consequently, the government took a particular interest to film because it realized just how powerful film is for social and political influence. Russian filmmakers began extensive research on film, asking themselves important questions about how films were constructed and the impact they left on the audience. The government, which as we know supported filmmaking, built the first film school in 1919 known as VGIK, or the State Institute of Cinematography. One of the most influential teachers at VGIK was a man named Lev Kuleshov, and he was the one that really constructed the form of a montage. He would place the neutral face of an actor before different circumstances, thus changing the emotion that the audience would feel and the meaning the shot would produce. And with that, Soviet montage was born. Sergei Eisenstein, one of the most famous film theorists, was interested in montage and went on to challenge the norms of how the medium was being done. He acknowledged 5 methods of montage. Metric. Metric montages typically have to do with the overall tempo of the sequence. The shots in metric montages are greatly influenced by the pacing of the musical score. The scene begins to take on its own cadence along with the accompanying soundtrack. Rhythmic. Rhythmic montages are the most common types of montages you'll see. Commonly referred to as continuity editing, it's simply cutting according to the intended structure of the scene. Musical scores then follow. Tonal. Tonal montages are based solely off of the emotional tone of the scene that the director is trying to convey. Tonal montages really aim to make the audience feel a certain emotion. Parasite's Peach Fuzz Ploy is an example of a tonal montage, but more on that soon. Overtonal. Overtonal montages are fairly similar to that of the ideas of tonal, but a bit more abstract in execution. Honestly, overtonal montages embody parts of all 5 methods. It mixes rhythm and tone to create the overall feel. Last and not least, intellectual and ideological montages are most similar to the Kuleshov effect we discussed earlier, where you place a neutral shot with something random to create the desired effect. Think of these types of montages as metaphors. Now that we know all about montages, which method of montage does Parasite use in this famous scene, and how do we know that? This scene from Parasite is an example of a tonal montage. There are multiple themes being addressed in this sequence that further enhance the story and our relationship with the characters. This 5-minute montage transitions us from Act 1 to Act 2 in such a poetic manner. In the start of the sequence, the Kims are hatching a plan to get rid of the housekeeper. 5 minutes and 60 shots later, the plan is executed, thus propelling us into the next part of the story. In the beginning, the audience is wondering how they will pull this off, and shortly thereafter, once the plan has gone from idea to implement it, we're drawn into the story even more so. A reoccurring theme we see in this montage is this idea of parallelism that director Bong-Joon likes to draw from. We start the montage understanding that the housekeeper is severely allergic to peaches, which then kicks off the rest of the plan of replacing her. Throughout the rest of the scene, we see these hints of what exactly the plan is as the plan is being conducted. It's hard to put into words just just what exactly Bong-Joon is doing here, because sometimes I can't quite understand it myself. But he is truly manipulating time in a magical way, and that in its essence is the definition of a montage. It's pulling together pieces to produce a better whole. We see a reoccurring shot of an escalator. When the father sees the housekeeper at the doctor, there's an escalator behind them. And when he alerts the Park family's mother that she was there, they're on an escalator. We see the same sort of shot moments later when Ki-jung is coming down the stairs to infect Moon-gwang with another dose of peaches. Then when the clueless mother walks up the stairs, she sees Moon-gwang having a harsh reaction. She believes it to be TB, but we as the audience know that it's not that. In the final shots of the montage, we see the father of the Kims open the trash to reveal a carefully placed napkin with fake blood on it, which is in fact hot sauce. We know that because the same hot sauce was used in the start of the montage at the pizza place. As the scene is unraveling itself, we are understanding what's about to happen, though we may not be consciously aware of it. That is the genius of Bong-Joon, and that is why Parasite won 197 out of the 330 awards it was nominated for. And just to give you reference, the Titanic, one of the greatest and most popular films ever made, won 114 out of the 169 awards it was nominated for. Of course, different periods of time, different circumstances, but the idea is the same. This film is fantastic. I won't spoil the rest of the film for you, so if you haven't seen it, you should just go check it out. It won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and it got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, what other reason do you need? And if you're wondering why I chose to do an analysis of this film now, even though it's been out for over 2 years, it's because it's fantastic. Just in case I haven't made that clear.